Hi everyone, I'm Illena Armstrong and welcome to another installment of our SC in Focus. This time I'm here with Bill Conner, President and CEO of the long-standing industry organization SonicWall, who's going to talk down some of the more concerning threats out there, from IoT attacks to ransomware, certainly some of the non-traditional points of entry. And we're also going to talk about some steps that organizations like yours can take to mitigate against some of these fast evolving threats. So Bill, thank you so much. It's great to have you here.
Great to be here.
We're reading about massive data breaches on a daily basis. Are you finding that a lot of the executives with whom you are speaking are understanding the threat landscape? Are they really getting a grasp of it?
You know, it's a great question. I think most of the executives are starting to understand the environment, but they're grappling with how's it happening? What kind of threats are coming in? How are they getting in? And, you know, that's one of the reasons we did this cyber threat report, so we can talk about, because every geographic's different. I mean, worldwide threats were up, malware was up 22% last year. But if you come to the US, it's up 60-something%. You go to the UK, it's up 60%. More than that in Germany, 70-something%. So they're understanding the implications because they're having to deal with that, but they're still trying to figure out, how do I help myself? And what do I need to do around that?
So when you're talking to customers, potential clients, what are they voicing perhaps as their most palpable pain points? Are they worried about the threat landscape? What about, I don't know, some of the technology sprawl or the cybersecurity mandates?
Well, I think every executive would kind of like it to be like a year 2000. What can I do to make sure I'm protected? And can I do it once and be done? And unfortunately, it's a cyber's arms race. You look at ransomware, it was up about 11% last year, and Q1 is down. In UK, it was down like almost 50% last year. Whereas in the US, it was up 60-something%. So, I think ransomware is the first time it really hit the small, medium business. And all of a sudden, it wasn't just about losing personal information. Small companies don't have capital, they don't have resources that understand it. They rely on the partners, as you well know. The problem is they go out of business if they get hit. Average cost is about $2.5 million.
So you talk about your annual cyber threat report. You've mentioned some of the data that you've been able to gather from that. Can you talk a little bit more about some of the findings that surprised you?
Yeah, really, really important insights this year. Last year, one of the big things we're talking about is encrypted communications, SSL. Only about 5% of businesses actually turn on deep packet inspection, or meaning looking at the content coming in through those SSL links. Increasingly, almost 1,300 attacks last year by customer, 1,300 coming in. So it kind of, I think a lot of customers go, well, if it's encrypted, it must be safe. If it's encrypted, increasingly now with Let's Encrypt and only 5% of the business, the guys on the dark web are going, that's my easy way in. So you've got to look at that. One of the most interesting findings this year, though, was non-standard ports. So most people understand port 80, port 443 are standard ports for the internet. Increasingly, people are using non-standard port because the internet traffic's so much. I've only had one person who's in the UK government that got this, but most customers, you go, how much do you cover? Do you protect those non-standard ports just like we talked about for encrypted ones? Oh, no, there's not malware on it. 19% we saw last year. So 1 in 5 malwares are coming through that non-standard port. So, big advice to the client base, look at encrypted traffic and cover the non-standard ports and look at those.
Are there any other future trends that maybe some of the different types of attacks, you talked about the non-standard ports, that are kind of coming down the road that you think your clients, but also our audience obviously, should be paying attention to, something that's kind of evolving?
Yeah, another really good question, Illena. If you look, last year we developed something and implemented something called real-time deep memory inspection. And we've all had kind of traditional sandboxing to look for malware, put it in the box. figure out one of 3 different technical ways of looking at files and stuff, capturing a lot through those sandboxes. Last year, though, we found 74,000 not seen before or identified malwares that are coming through Office docs, and PDFs.
Okay.
Now, we're about to release, by this airing time, we will have released the Q1. That went from 74,000 for all last year. In Q1 of this year, not seen by traditional sandboxing, that category went up to 174,000 in Q1 alone. And if you double click on that, about 80% of that traffic was on PDFs. And they have engineered a way around traditional sandboxes seeing them. And in this particular case, it's coming out of Russia and it's fraud. So very, very important that you start to look at those PDFs and be careful on clicking into those pieces. The other one that you've seen and we talked about at RSA is side channel attacks. Spoiler just came out, 30 days ago now. But side channel has not been weaponized. The Intel Meltdown, Spectre, Foreshadow, Port Smash, Spoiler have not been weaponized. But that's one, if and when a country state does weaponize it, fortunately RTDMI is there to help them, but it's going to be an important one we look at.
2019 right now, 2020, you get into an election year, it's probably going to get crazy.
Well, especially, in politics always affects email, right?
Yeah.
No matter which party, no matter what country.
Absolutely.
Whether it's Brexit or whether it's our own elections. And that's why I think it's very interesting when you look at the PDF fraud attacks today. Well, who's to say that's fraud today? They've got a new weaponization technique.
Absolutely.
It can be used for anything, as you know.